Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, welcome back. Um, Today, just wanted to talk about something that I deal with a fair amount of, and that's the people limiting themselves, and the beliefs that they form that ensure that those limits remain in place. Um, Usually, quick definition, limiting beliefs, something that we get that I see a fair amount of are beliefs that have been formed either by you taking something out of context and internalizing it, or by something that someone has told you, and as a result, um, forming a belief, a worldview, a belief around it, um, and that happens to hold you back, that happens to hold you in check. Um, a lot of the ones that I hear from people are usually, oh well, if I do X, then people will respond Y, and the issue is that then most of those beliefs revolve around fear and the apprehension of things that they think will happen, um, and as a result they take a step back, they stop, because obviously fear, it's there to make sure that you don't hurt yourself, that you don't put yourself at a disadvantage, and so they take a step back, they stop themselves from jumping, taking the leap of faith in the direction that the unknown happens to be, whether or not it may be beneficial or not. And there are a few questions that I always ask, um, to try and break that down. The first one is obviously trying to identify where where that belief is coming from. Kind of, I'll turn around and I'll be like, what is it that makes you say that? What is it that makes you think that? Um, and more often than not, it kind of comes down to, again, something that happened to people in the past that they have then blown out of proportion, to one degree or another, or something that was potentially quite serious, but that isn't necessarily the rule for every situation they're in. Or it's something that someone has passed on to them. Usually, um, a lot of the ones that I hear are things like older siblings or parents or teachers that's made a specific comment to an individual and it stayed with them. I mean, I've considered myself quite lucky because I had some absolutely amazing teachers when I was in school, and some of the things that they told me that I'll probably do videos on at some point in the future have stuck with me up until now, and they've kept me going. Um, but um, for example, a teacher turning around to a child and saying, "Oh, well, you're not very good at something," that might stick with someone, and then they may really want to do that thing, but they won't let themselves do it because they are of the belief, correctly or incorrectly, that it's beyond their capabilities. When 9 times out of 10, it's bollocks. They can do whatever they want. Um, there was one girl who got told that by a music teacher, when she was a kid, that she couldn't sing, or that she wasn't good at singing, and so she continually reinforced it by saying, "Oh, I can't sing." Singing is a thing that you can learn. It's the reason why people have singing lessons. It's something that if you practice enough and keep yourself going enough, then you can do it. Um, and it took me questioning on it, asking where the evidence was, is the next thing that I tend to ask, because if there's no evidence for it, and if it doesn't, for the slightest bit of difference, make if there's no evidence, then there's nothing to base the belief on. There's nothing to base the idea on. And so when in this particular example, when I was asking her what the evidence was, she just said, "Oh, the teacher said so. I've not really sung since." And so when she decided that she wanted to try and sing along to the radio every day to get her started again, and then she ended up um, going to karaoke club with her friends, I believe, And then after that, she started taking singing lessons, and now she really loves singing, and it's something that she wanted to do. And I believe she went on to be in a band. Not entirely sure. Kind of lost track of her. But again, there are those beliefs, those blocks, stop progress, and all they do is stop you. They don't do you any other favors. And so, if there's no evidence, though, but it's something that people um, want to do, then if there's no evidence, then usually someone will move along with it. You know, if there's more evidence to base a um, a course of action on than there is to base a course of inaction on, then people will usually do that. And that's one of the things I love about people. As much as they can be unreasonable, as much as they can be ridiculous at times, there are some people who will actively work against evidence. But most people, like, are reasonable. They'll sit down. If something is right in front of them, they will understand it and they will move with it. And that's one of the things that restores a little bit of my faith in humanity every time I see it. But let's say that there is some evidence for their belief. Then what? Or for your belief even. But then what? And then it usually comes down to just addressing, well, what are the pros and cons? If you do it, then what good could come of it? If you don't do it, what good could come of it? If you don't do it, what good could come of it? If you don't do it, what bad could come of it? You know, and just weighing up the pros and cons again then is usually a thing that can motivate people, can get people going on what they want. But then if after all of that if they've come to me and they want to address the thing that's stopping them, and then they come to me and we've gone through all of that and they still cling to it, then the last question I have to ask is, well, is it actually something that you want to change, or is it something else that's making you feel that way or want to do X, Y, and Z? And a couple of times it's just asking that question has allowed people, in one way or another, has allowed people to then slightly change their perspective and view things from a slightly different direction to allow them to then proceed with what they actually want. You know, they've been blaming this one thing for all of these various issues that they've come to me with, and yet then after actually trying to address those issues, find out what's stopping them from proceeding, what the beliefs are that they've generated that are holding them back. Well, it sometimes turns out that it wasn't those things at all, and it was a case of blaming the easy target because they know it holds them back, instead of actually going and doing it, instead of actually going and doing the thing that they actually wanted to do, when at times they've been completely unrelated. People saying that they didn't want to go and do a course because of their family or because it wouldn't provide them enough money and things like that, and yet then when all of those things are completely accurate, and then you ask, well, okay, so what is it that you actually want to do? And they go, I don't know, but it was easier to blame this than actually try and come up with a plan, because it was the fear of not having a plan, not the fear of going to do. They didn't want to do the course, but having the course as a plan seemed to them less scary, as much as it was uncomfortable, than it was having the just gaping void of growing up into the unknown. And I can understand that, but hey, I mean, my personal limiting beliefs, I think I got rid of most of them when I was traveling, but some of the ones that I still hold to now, for better or worse, are that I need to make sure that I take a step back. And even if it's a small step back, even a half step back, I need to try and take a step back from things to address them. And sometimes that's easier to do than others. but again, sometimes that makes me hesitate. That makes me slow down, especially when it's a bigger problem. And I sometimes get paralyzed by the amount of information that I feel I need. I don't just jump at things head first because reasons. The thing is, I tend to work quite quickly, so for the most part people don't tend to notice, and it works quite well. But if I were any other person, then that would potentially, that belief that I always need a bit more information, or that a bit more information is helpful, that could really slow me down. That could stop me from doing an awful lot. I mean, if it weren't for the fact that I work quickly and then become quite pig-headed afterwards, in regards to how stubborn I can be once I've chosen a course of action, then you know, I'd probably still be working a relatively dead-end job, and being really miserable, which I'm thankful that I'm not. But anyway, I'll put it to you guys. What do you think your limiting beliefs are? What are the things that you believe that are, to a degree, possibly holding you back? What do they pertain to? And if you found this video entertaining, useful, informative, then drop us a like and subscribe for more. So I'm going to have a drink, and then and then possibly do another video. But anyway, take care, guys.